slides today.
That's a fairly good angle, huh? Yeah. Are there any things online he's doing? Never here, right?
Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet to be followed by the music of Walking Tune by Percy Granger, played by our music director and pianist, Matt Johnson. You're also invited this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow. No touchy. We light this chalice to honor the memory of those who have come before us, kindling flames of wisdom in dark times, willing to challenge orthodoxy even at great personal risk, giving us a legacy of freedom and a love of truth, a legacy that warms our hearts and lights our paths. Good morning. Welcome all of you humans, non-humans, dinosaurs, the whole Hogwarts contingent that is here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Payson, and I'm honored to be one of the ministers of this congregation. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new and visiting us for the first time this morning. We're delighted that you're here. We hope that you'll join us for what should be a raucous fellowship hour today, along with Trunk or Treat, if I'm not mistaken. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards that are found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of our ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better, I invite you, as you are able, to place your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are making their way around. Though you're not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like to have yours read aloud by the minister, please print it on one of the index cards found in the pews, drop it in the collection plate when it comes around, or bring it forward to me during the time of joys and sorrows. These cards will be posted outside my office to be shared with our other friends at other services. For those of you who are online, I invite you to also participate in this important part of our service by placing a joy or sorrow in the chat or the comment section on Facebook. Please precede it by the words, "Please read," so that we can find it quickly and include it in this part of our service. In the foyer are listening devices, large print service programs, large print hymnals, and cushions. For those who may find their assistant beneficial, please see one of our ushers or greeters who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. And finally, please note the announcements on the back of your order of service. There will be time for short verbal announcements following the postlude this morning. We are so glad that you are here, and we hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation.
Morning. Our opening words today are from the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, invoking the past, present, and future. Come, let us enter this space of hope and community. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion and compassion. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space, present the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come into this space and let us worship.
I know why you all giggled, because you know how that feels. Would you please join together in our opening hymn this morning, found in your hymnal supplements, number 1051, "We Are." And please rise in body or in spirit. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of Spirit of God, we're mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and mothers of love. We are lovers of life and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one. You say something about
Good morning, everybody. I see that we have some, oh, hi. I see an alien in the back there. A bright green, ooh. Aliens, dinosaurs. I see all kinds of goblins, ghouls, and even, who is that over there next to you, Marilyn? What's his name? Who? Cheetah. Yes. And Wizard of Oz is here. And Catherine Roberts, you are a riot. Could you stand up and turn around?
scariest thing in the house?
So at this point, we're going to trick or treat for UNICEF. And all of our little ghosts and goblins and witches can go through the aisles with your UNICEF box. And if any of our congregation has some money to put in, change or dollar bills, we would appreciate it.
No, they're taking them with them. What? They're taking UNICEF boxes with them. Or behind you. Are there any more hands raised? So we want to invite you to follow Robin for a morning filled with fun activities as we sing you forth. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may know. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. thing one and thing two and thing one. And remember everything, everything, everything under the sun. Alberto Rios writes our words for reading this morning. You are not 15 or 12 or 17 or 35 or 47 or 57 or 83. You are 100 wild centuries, and 15 bringing with you even breath, and in every step, everyone who has come before you, all the yous that you have been, the mothers of your mother, the fathers of your father. If someone in your family tree was trouble, 100 were not. The bad do not win, not finally, no matter how loud they are. We simply would not be here if that were so. You are made fundamentally from the good. With this knowledge, you never march alone. You are the breaking news of the century. You are the good who has come forward through it all, even if so many days feel otherwise. But think, when you as a child learned to speak, it's not that you didn't know the words. It's that from the centuries you knew so many, and it's hard to choose the words that will be your own. From these centuries, we human beings bring with us the simple solutions and songs, the river bridges and the star charts and the song harmonies, all in service to a simple idea: that we cannot make a house called tomorrow. What we bring finally into the new day, in every day, is ourselves. And that's all we need to start. That's everything we require to keep going. Look back only for as long as you must, and then go forward into the history you will make. Be good, then better. Write books. Cure disease. Make us proud. Make yourself proud. Are those who came before you? When you hear thunder, hear it as their applause. We come to that time in our service when we're given an opportunity to share that which is symbolic of our own efforts, that which we offer in service to the values that we share, and in service to the continuing ministry and mission of this congregation. So I invite you to participate, as we do each time we gather for worship, in our offering. You will offer that which is right for you, not a prescribed amount, but something that makes you feel as though you are contributing beyond yourself. And if you need to reach into the pocket of the person sitting in front of you and pull out their checkbook to write that check you've always wanted to write, I invite you to do that as well. If you'd like to contribute online, digitally, you're welcome to text 508-231-5335 at this time. Our morning offering will be received. I'm mindful that sometimes I speak faster than people can hear. If you don't believe me, ask my wife. The number that you can participate digitally in our offertory is 508-231-5335. Would you please join together in our pre-meditation hymn number 123, found in your gray hymnals, and rise in body or in spirit. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. You told me close, and set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. We come to that time in our service when we're given pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds, or in the work of our hands, in the days that have transpired or in the prospect of days to come. Joys and sorrows that touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because of our capacity to share them in the midst of a company that claims us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who are here this morning to come forward if you'd like to share a joy or sorrow, forming lines on either side of the sanctuary, to speak briefly into the microphone, telling us first who you are so that those using our auditory enhancement devices might also participate in this important ritual, and then to light a candle if you so desire. And once again, if you would like to share a joy or sorrow online, we invite you to put it in the chat, and we will endeavor to include those as well. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
And then fresh off last week's service with the empty table and all the plates, a sobering reminder. They found out about the murder of a young mother in Gardner, my hometown. Now 4 kids are left without a mother. Gardner is my hometown, and where that occurred is very close to where I lived and went to school, so that kind of hit me kind of hard. And just justice for those 4 children who are now without a mother.
I'm Carol Howe, and I want to thank all the people of this congregation who helped me during my travails this month when I was in the hospital and actually in a great deal of pain. And they helped. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to slight anybody, but I was so grateful to be part of this congregation and all the warm, helping people here. Aaron held my hand in the ER. Thank you all.
Today is a day where we remember people lost in Maine over the last week and affected by um, by gunfire, by um, a problem that it seems like we can't yet bring our hands around. And I'm also last night, not let's say the one before last night, I was awakened at 2:30 in the morning with an alert from Worcester State University with a shelter in place there, and there was a shooting there that essentially led people at Worcester State to be sheltering in place for quite a while overnight. 2 people were apparently harmed, one of which was a fatality, and the campus locked down, and it caused the alumni or the homecoming to be canceled, the family day to be canceled, the athletic competitions to be canceled. And it just strikes me that we are arriving at a time when understandings about the world that held 2 centuries ago might no longer be appropriate. You know, it may no longer be appropriate that everyone who wants to have a gun can have a gun, and that's a right. And I guess I'm, you know, the founding fathers were pretty darn intelligent, but in this instance, I'm, you know, it seems to me as though you know, we can change where we live. We can change who we are as a people. We don't have to remain locked into this reliance on guns of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. And so I'll light a candle for peace and progress.
Just for effect, I have the hat as well. I just want to muse a little bit. 14 or 15 years ago, when I walked into this church for the first time, I was new. I had been a Catholic before. And when we got to the service where all the children were dressed in costumes and it was Halloween, I cried because I never saw kids having fun in church before. Today is a day where this is the first time I've dressed up. There's a reason, because I'm doing the trunk or treat, and I hope all the kids stop by. And that leads me into, I would like to ask Sherry Lynn to come up here next to me. You can do that. We break all kinds of rules. Why not this one? If you don't know her, Sherry Lynn is the president of the board here, but she's also the executive director of the Interfaith Hospitality Network, which is a homeless shelter at 91 June Street. Since Sherry has been there, it is no longer a homeless shelter, but a homeless home. She has changed the whole tenor of the place to a home, and I will be there in costume Tuesday night, because at the home, the children are going to get to go out and dress in costume and see the neighborhood. And there will be other people, residents of the home, answering the door and handing out candy to other people from the neighborhood, just like any other home. And I think that's all because of Sherry, that it feels so much like a home. And I wanted you to all know that today. So I'm going to light a candle for everybody at IHN.
I think it's really you building beloved community at 91 June Street that really makes it home.
Who are you?
Hi, my name is Jessie, and my great joy today is that 10 years ago today, my daughter Flora was born, and Flora has just brought so much joy and light into our life every single moment since she first arrived. She has never met a stranger. For those of you who've gotten to hang out with her, she is fun and bright and spirited, and we're just so happy that she's been around for a decade now. And today, she's in disguise as Luna Lovegood, so if you see her, just give her a little happy birthday.
Hi, I'm Laura. Soon, I promise I'll stop coming up here. Today was the first time I did not cry to Spirit of Life. As many of you know, a month ago, my granddaughter was born 3 months early and passed away 3 days later. When I went into the hospital, I guess they were waiting for me to show up to take her off life support. So as soon as I walked in, they're like, okay, you ready? I'm like, what? YouTube. I hit Spirit of Life. I have no idea why. I just felt like I needed to do something rather than other things in the background. So kind of like Joe Zwolski with Blue Boat Home, I kind of feel like Michaela's going to be Spirit of Life, which is kind of symbolic because I was just informed that she's coming home tomorrow. So after a little over a month, she'll be right beside everything that's important to me, everything that I've had of her, even though I only met her for like a minute. So that is a joy.
Good morning, my name's Jean Levine, and I'm lighting a candle of concern for my wife, Pat, whose family, and for her family, because she's down in Florida and her mother's in hospice in the final days, and it's been really difficult for all of them.
So this was an interesting weekend for me. This is the fourth of 5 religious services that I am participating in or attending this weekend. It began with an opportunity to accompany the sheriff and the mayor and the police chief to the mosque on Friday for a midday prayer. And one of the things I was able to do was gift the mosque an Islamic a desk, which is a wooden thing that spans out like an X. And normally they're very short because when people sit on the floor, they don't want to place the Quran on the floor. And so they have these wonderful little wooden desks that they use. But there are plenty of people like myself who don't sit on the floor anymore. And about a month ago, Anna Bediako gifted me with a large desk that is used when someone sits in a chair, bedecked with all kinds of wooden intricacy. So I took it to the mosque and I gave it to them. And I said, this is on behalf of the congregation that I serve and all of the people in this community that surround you and support you during this very difficult time. So they received it with gladness, and they were very, very moved to have people come and just witness to them that they are not alone. That evening, I went over to Temple Emmanuel Sinai for their evening prayer service and sat with that congregation as they reflected on what was transpiring in their world and the need to be able to reflect a different ethic. And likewise, on Saturday morning, I went over to my friend Rabbi Aviva Feldman's conservative Jewish congregation and sat with them for their service and sat with Aviva. And from people have been saying to me, what can we do? What can we do? And I keep saying to people, in every way you can, bear witness to something different than what people are experiencing in the world right now. Sidle up to the people that you know that just need to understand that there are other people in their life who represent a different kind of friendship and care. Because one of the things that terror does is it isolates. And it makes us feel as though we are the only ones that are feeling this. And it's so intense that it's hard to open ourselves up to other people. And so people feel ignored, people feel as though they're alone in the world. And I think one of the basic things that you and I can do as often as we can is remember to go to those people that we think are most vulnerable in all of this and remind them that they're not alone and that people care about them. It does not require you to take sides, does not require you to proclaim a particular political ideology. What it requires of you is that you represent the integrity of your own spirit in service to the love that is possible in the moment when we move beyond all of the ideologies, when we move beyond all of the ways that we are told we should be in the moment and declare something different. So I honor my friends this morning as a joy and recognize that there is much sorrow in the world, but that there is a way of being that we can be literally for each other. Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of our inner and outermost being, we come this day remembering our ancestors, remembering all of those who have gone before, and remembering those that we love back into the center of our lives. Help us reflect the possibility of healing, of health and wholeness, of freedom and the integrity of the spirit when we mend and tend the bonds that strengthen our relationship to each other. We are mindful this morning of the need and necessity of joy in our lives, and let our children be a constant reminder of that, even in our most trying moments. Help us also be present as we learn to recreate home wherever we reside, and the heart of our common life is able to thrive in service to something larger than ourselves. Let us create friendships where there were none. Let us create the opportunity for healing where there is trauma. Be with all of those who have been touched by violence this week in Lewiston and Worcester, in Israel, Palestine, in every continent and country of the world, especially within us as we too seek healing and wholeness. Amen, and blessed be. My alarm went off this morning and I went back to sleep. I did not want to awaken. There was something urging me to return to slumber instead of rising to more news of a world aflame. Israel and Palestine, Lewiston, and now Worcester State University. Too many deaths, too much terror. How does one face this, and what do I have to say to those that I love? It was easier to sleep, and yet sleep is exactly what such violence desires of me and of all of us, so I got up. And I went down to my office and I finished my preparations for this morning, and I returned to the bedroom dark with my beloved mate asleep. I took off my shoes at the end of the bed. I put on new socks. I dressed for service. I went back to find my shoes. There was only one. I tossed the bedroom. Then I tossed my mate out of bed and we turned on the light and we tossed the bedroom. And then she went down the hallway to another room and came back with my shoe. Our dog, who had been asleep beside my wife on the floor and looked as though she had not stirred when the light was off at all, had apparently wanted to teach me a lesson. You see, I had arisen and I had not paid her any attention before going down to my office. And upon returning, I was in too much of a rush to pay her attention then. She would have none of it. And so she stole away the thing I needed most in the moment, and then returned to where she had been asleep and looked as though she were as innocent as the puppy she once was. I'm mindful that lessons come in creative ways and that my dog is probably more intelligent than I in this moment. To remember that regardless of what our emotional state is, what our calendar is, whatever time it is, that when we do not remember to pause and to strengthen the relationships with those that we love, we lose out. Like I lost my shoe. My colleague, Reverend Teresa Hardy, writes about getting through this day saying, I got out of bed this morning because of all of those who had to get out of bed before me. I got out of bed this morning because of Martin and Coretta the day after their home was bombed. What did they tell the children? My father, every day of his young life in Loudons County, Alabama. John Lewis, after nearly escaping death on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. My ancestors who were dragged to the U.S. in chains, laid flat like chattel on ships and survived. They survived and got out of bed each morning. I'm sick and tired and grieving and ready to quit this country. But I got out of bed, shamed by the thought of letting these ancestors down. For now, that's how I'm getting through this day. I'm struck by the aside in these words. What did Martin Luther and Coretta Scott King tell their children after their home was bombed? And Jean Theo Harris, writing a number of years ago in The Guardian, responds to Hardy's query, saying in September of 1954, the Kings had moved to Montgomery, where Martin had received his first pastorship at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. Montgomery would be where his civil rights commitment first caught national attention, and when he emerged as the young leader and spokesperson for the Montgomery bus boycott. Coretta played a decisive role there as well. 7 weeks into the boycott, the king's house was bombed. Coretta and their 10-week-old baby daughter, Yolanda, were at home when the bomb went off. But they escaped uninjured. Terrified by this violence, both Martin and Coretta's fathers traveled to Montgomery to pressure the family, or at least Coretta and baby Yolanda, to leave. She refused, explaining later that this was a very trying time when everyone seemed frightened, and she realized how important it was for her to stand with her husband. And the next morning at breakfast, he said, "Coretta, you have been a real soldier. You were the only one who stood with me." The author writes, had Coretta Scott King flinched in this moment, the trajectory of the bus boycott and the emerging civil rights movement might have been very different. While the Montgomery bus boycott is customarily seen as an event of Martin Luther King's leadership, Coretta Scott King was vital to its emergence. During the bus boycott, she writes, I was tested by fire, and I came to understand that I was not a breakable, crystalline figure. I found I became stronger in crisis. During the year of the bus boycott, when their phone rang incessantly with hate calls, Coretta often had to answer them, and she took to quipping, "My husband is asleep. He told me to write the name and number of anyone who called to threaten his life so that he could return the call and receive the threat in the morning when he wakes up fresh." What was it that gave Coretta Scott and Martin Luther King the courage to get out of bed in the morning after their house had been bombed? Howard Thurman, celebrated theologian and philosopher, educator, and pastor, calls it operating from a place of inner certainty, which gives meaning and clarity to whatever we do. He describes an afternoon encounter in LaGrange, Georgia, when he happened upon an old man somewhere in his 80s planting pecan tree seedlings. And he asked him, "Why didn't you select larger trees so to increase the possibility of your living to see them bear at least one cup of nuts?" He fixed his eyes directly at me, says Thurman, with no particular point of focus, but with a gaze that took in the totality of his features, and finally said, "These small trees are cheaper and I have very little money. So you do not expect to live to see these trees reach sufficient maturity or bear fruit." "No," said the man, "but is that important? All my life I have eaten fruit from trees that I did not plant. Why should I not plant trees to bear fruit for those who may enjoy them long after I'm gone? Besides, the man who plants because he will reap the harvest has no faith in life." Thurman reflects on this encounter, saying, "Again and again the thought has come back to me, besides, the man who plants because he will reap the harvest has no faith in life." Fact is that much of life is made up of reaping where we have not sown and planting where we shall never reap, says Thurman. And yet that is not all the story. There is a reaping of precisely what we have sown, with the extra thrown in, guaranteed by the laws of growth. All of life is planting and harvesting, says the theologian. No one gathers merely the crop that they themselves have planted. This is another dimension of the siblinghood of humankind. Thurman goes on to remind those hearing his words that the history of the Abrahamic traditions is linked to the bravery of Judas Maccabeus and the revolt in the 2nd century before the Common Era, noting how much worse the world would have been in the absence of the religious teachings that were born out of this strand of the garment that we call the Abrahamic religions, although there are many who would argue the opposite. What Thurman doesn't talk about is how generations carry the terror that certainly was born of the need for such a revolt, and that was the product of such an activity. Which is to say, we not only carry the progress born of such pivotal moments in history, both as a world and as individuals, but also the residual baggage that is the inevitable byproduct of such happenings, even when we deem these processes necessary or important. We have come to a point in history when we are tasked with acknowledging the dual nature of our successes and our failures. That within each there are the seeds of both hope and terror, possibility and utter destruction, life and death. You can hear an echo of this truth in Thurman's words. Religion, he says, assumes that ultimately the universe itself will not sustain the evil, but it does not assume that evil will not triumph in the short range. It is not enough to evict the devil, but something else must be put in its place and maintained there, or else it returns, refreshed and recharged, to deliver us over to greater tyranny. And perhaps the most potent point this morning is that the relationship between the tyranny which restricts us to violence and the freedom that opens us up to more abundant possibilities. Hear Howard Thurman again. Basically, freedom, he says, is a sense of alternatives. Where there are no alternatives, there is no freedom. It needs a privilege of option. Note that I say the privilege of option. The option need not be taken, for it may often be sufficient to know that one has an option. It is this sense of alternatives that is freedom. If I had no alternative, then I could not be free. Therefore, if my freedom were perfect, absolute, it would be equivalent to slavery. Wherever human beings are denied the exercise of option, they are not free. This is confined to no particular aspect of life, but is quite inclusive. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The spirit of truth and the spirit of freedom are the same, for truth is bound only in the presence of alternatives. We would be well to remember that when we ask a people who have nowhere to go to leave where they are. It would be well for us to remember this when faced with violence born out of an experience of captivity, and also come to understand that violence is not the only possible outcome or response to the presence of individual or collective trauma. I hear the words here of Adrienne Marie Brown. Trauma, writes Adrienne, is the common experience of most humans on this planet. What we need is a culture where the common experience of trauma leads to the normalization of healing. What we need, says Adrienne Marie Brown, is a culture where the common experience of trauma leads to the normalization of healing. Being able to say, I have good reasons to be scared of the dark, of raised voices, of being swallowed up by love, of being alone, and being able to offer each other this, to say to them, I know the healer in you. I hold your hand in the dark. Let's begin a meditation practice. Perhaps talk therapy is not enough. We should celebrate love in our community as a measure of healing. The expectation, she notes, should be, I know we are all in need of healing, so how are we doing our healing work? Remember, as Dan Hurley notes in Discover magazine, you might have inherited not just your grandmother's knobby knees, and you know who you are, but also her predisposition toward depression caused by the neglect she suffered as a newborn. Or not. If your grandmother was adopted by nurturing parents, you might be enjoying the boost she receives thanks to their love and support. We inherit, says Hurley, not only deficits and weaknesses, but strengths and resiliencies too. To continue this journey toward deeper awareness and centering, consider the questions that blogger Lisa E. noted a few years ago, and ask yourselves, what characteristics of you are you identifying as a fault of yours that is actually something passed down to support your survival? Note that there are qualities that you identify, the qualities that you identify land in terms of being expressions of trauma or resilience. Note how it feels to connect with the idea that all of your characteristics did not start with you. Certain qualities like perfectionism, hypervigilance, hyperproductivity, or dominance are trauma responses passed down to support our survival. It's up to us to discern what our skillful qualities to support present states of well-being and thriving will be, and allow space for processing and healing those qualities that are no longer needed and can be released. Would that the world could learn this. Amen. And blessed be. Please join in our closing hymn, number 1068, found in your teal hymnals. Oh, the litany. I'm sorry. Really? The litany. Let's turn to our gray hymnals first. Number 646, please. The words of Wendell Berry. We clasp the hands of those that go before us. We enter the little circle of each other's arms. And the larger circle of all creatures. To the music so subtle and vast that no one hears it. Now please rise in body or in spirit and join together in hymn number 1068, Rising Green. My dove doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins, on this my soul, like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea, beating my heart sounds measures of old that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand, winging my song is the flute in my breast, and my love flows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love flows over the land. My feet carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our flame settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green to bring a new day. Leela Derlin Jones writes, "For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. As we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage and their wisdom and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Please be seated. Are there any short announcements before we just grab that mic and turn it on? I think it needs to be, the button needs to be pushed on it. On the top
Yeah,
of
I
it.
can just do this from here. Halloween is Tuesday. That means Friday is the first Friday of November, and that means it's game night. So please find a link in any of the many emails that you get sent, and chase the link to a Google form where you can register to come to game night. That way, leave your email address if you would, and sign up for pizza if you want. It's $5, and also on the back of today's order of service, it says that it starts at 6:30, but it actually starts at 6. So don't show up at 6:30 because, well, no, there'll still be pizza, but there won't be as much by 6:30. So, all right, thank you.
Other announcements? Marilyn, come up to the mic. Just stand in front of the big mics there. You can catch your voice.
So the November distribution, the Thanksgiving distribution will be November 18th. And we would welcome any gift cards to grocery stores that you would care to donate. So you have 2 more Sundays if you want to bring them in, or you can leave them in the, you put them in an envelope with loaves and fishes on it. You can leave it in the gray mailbox outside the office. We're thinking 20, if you can, but 10 is fine too. Anything. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Let's party.